They said, save water, save money. But when my HOA started stealing my rainwater, I knew I had to fight back. And I fought back in a way no one ever expected. I still remember the day like it was yesterday. A day of clear blue skies and a sense of hopeful excitement. I had just installed my state-of-the-art rainwater collection system, a project I'd poured months of sweat, time, and savings into. My plan was simple. Harness the free, natural rain to water my beloved vegetable garden, save a few bucks, and maybe even help the environment a little bit. Little did I know, this humble system would soon spark an epic showdown with my homeowners association, or HOA, that would forever change the way I viewed community living. At first, everything ran as smoothly as planned. I could almost hear the gentle drizzle feeding my barrels, each plink of raindrops a small celebration of nature's bounty. I took immense pride in watching the water level rise, dreaming of a harvest so bountiful that even the skeptics in the neighborhood would have to nod in respect. But as weeks turned into months, I began noticing something odd. Despite having endured a couple of heavy storms, my rain barrels were barely filling up. Imagine my confusion. I had set everything up perfectly, yet the numbers simply didn't add up. One overcast afternoon, driven by mounting frustration and a nagging sense of injustice, I decided to trace back the flow of my gutters. Crawling along the edge of my deck, I discovered a network of hidden diversion pipes that snaked their way from my property into places I never expected. They were not part of my design, and it didn't take long for me to connect the dots. These pipes were the lifeline of my HOA's secret water redistribution system, a system designed to steal the very resource I was trying to collect, all under the guise of community benefit. Standing there in disbelief, I couldn't help but recall the last HOA meeting, where Ms. Reynolds, the commanding and stern president, coolly explained that under a rarely mentioned clause, excess rainwater was automatically rerouted to fund the community's pristine garden. In her eyes and on her clipboard, every homeowner's contribution was fair game. If you didn't follow the HOA's overly specific landscaping plans, well, you were simply giving away your water for the greater good. But as I saw it, that greater good was a thin veil over corruption and greed. My mind raced. Who was benefiting the most? Was it the beautiful community garden that everyone admired? Or was it a select few board members living in their perfectly manicured estates? The more I investigated, the clearer it became that the water was being funneled directly to properties owned by board members and their cronies, leaving the rest of us high and dry, both literally and figuratively. I began gathering evidence discreetly. Late nights were spent poring over HOA documents, studying bylaws, and mapping out every hidden pipe I could locate. Soon, I was approached by Marcus, a neighbor known for his determination and technical know-how, and Eleanor, a retired hydraulic engineer with a penchant for meticulous detail. They, too, had noticed irregularities in our community's water flow. Together, we formed an unexpected alliance, dedicated to exposing the deceit and reclaiming what was rightfully ours. One evening, while huddled over blueprints in Eleanor's cozy kitchen that doubled as our makeshift war room, we devised a plan. We would redirect the stolen rainwater back to its natural course, letting it flood right into the HOA office itself. The idea was both audacious and daring. As Eleanor explained the concept, the rain on our window panes served as a perfect metaphor. Nature itself could be harnessed as a force of justice. In the days leading up to the storm, our neighborhood became a hive of clandestine activity. We acquired specialized valves and pipe connections and meticulously charted every connection of the diversion network. The night before the big storm, I couldn't sleep a wink. My thoughts were a whirlwind of anxiety and excitement. The storm promised not only torrential rain but also our one chance at turning the tables on an institution that had taken our trust and resources for granted. Under a sky lit by intermittent flashes of lightning, I donned my waterproof gear and joined Marcus and Eleanor outside in the pouring rain. Our mission was clear. Infiltrate the secret valve locations and replace them with our modified connectors designed to revert water to its natural flow. With every step, I recalled Ms. Reynolds' earlier warnings, how one misstep would result in steep fines and further violations. But deep inside, I knew that standing by in silence was no longer an option. The time had come to reclaim our rights. Working in the eerie cover of the storm's cacophony, we moved between houses, carefully swapping out the illicit valves. There was a palpable sense of camaraderie as we synchronized our efforts, each knowing that what we did tonight was for the freedom of every homeowner plagued by the HOA's mismanagement. At one particularly tense moment near the outskirts of the diversion network, I felt a surge of fear as headlights swept past in the downpour. I froze behind a bush, heart pounding, as I saw Ms. Reynolds patrolling the neighborhood in her SUV. But fate was on our side. The storm roared on, drowning out any suspicions, and soon we pressed forward. As the night unfolded, our stealthy operations culminated in the installation of a master valve, a single switch that, when activated, would send the reclaimed water coursing downhill. We calculated the runoff precisely, ensuring that it would head straight for the grand, stately building that Ms. Reynolds called the HOA office. With every modified connection in place, we took a moment to admire the subtle genius of our plan. No brute force, no destruction, just the simple, elegant redirection of nature's own bounty. The next morning, the storm had left its dramatic mark on our neighborhood. The usually immaculate lawns and gardens were streaked with rivulets of water, and there, at the bottom of a natural depression, lay the once proud HOA office, now grappling with an unwelcome flood. I could see through my security camera the chaos unfolding outside. Ms. Reynolds, drenched and frustrated, trying to regain control as the water relentlessly seeped inside. By midday, word had spread like wildfire. Neighbors, once silent observers, began showing up at an impromptu emergency meeting held at the community center. The mood was charged with a mix of outrage and astonishment. At the meeting, Ms. Reynolds attempted to spin the event as vandalism and sabotage, but nothing could mask the evidence we had meticulously assembled. Eleanor presented detailed diagrams of the illegal diversion system, Marcus laid out the inconsistencies in water billing, and I, with collected violation notices in hand, shared the story of how our simple act of defiance had turned the tables. The public outcry was immediate and intense. Local media picked up on the story, and soon, news vans gathered outside the community center. What had started as a personal battle had evolved into a movement for transparency and fairness. A call for the HOA to account for its misdeeds and to prioritize the rights of all homeowners over a select few. The aftermath was nothing short of transformative. Faced with mounting evidence and intense public scrutiny, the HOA board had no choice but to initiate a comprehensive review. New policies were drafted, ensuring that every drop of rain would be rightfully allocated to benefit the entire community. An interim committee was established with representatives elected from every block, ensuring that future decisions would be made through collective consensus rather than unilateral power. Even today, I often reflect on that stormy night, the thunder, the adrenaline, and the unwavering determination that drove us to stand up for what was right. It wasn't just about reclaiming our water. It was about showing that when people unite with a shared purpose, even the mightiest institutions can be held accountable. And as I sipped my coffee on a bright morning, looking at the restored community garden thriving under genuine collective effort, I realized that sometimes the simplest ideas, in this case harnessing the power of rain, can lead to the most profound revolutions. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. Remember, no matter how small your voice may seem, when you speak up and join forces with others, you have the power to change the world. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Storytime adventures.